just gonna load. Okay.
Yeah, we're live.
Welcome to Demigods Anonymous.
You should do the intro every time, just like that from now on.
Okay, I got it.
I just want a recording of that for the beginning of every Demigods video, whether you're in it or not.
Oh, hey, Kinsey, did you know you're doing a live show on your channel about the Hammer of Thor?
He did.
Cool, guessed that.
I just got the notification for it.
Yeah, look at me. Finally having a notification on your phone.
I was on my computer, actually. But
literally, I started editing a video the other day, and I got so bored that I was just like, you know what? It's not meant to be. I can't do this.
I have waited in the desert too long.
I tried. I'll try again. But whew.
If I had a proper editing, I'd just be like, send it to me. I'll edit it for you.
I was supposed to edit a video and post it today. We're gonna edit it and post it tomorrow. I was supposed to. Shh. Anyways, I'm gonna make my brother watch this for I don't know reasons. Although that means that I can't then like stall him before we hang out, but so I can finish the rest of my episode.
Just make him watch you from the other room.
Here, let's see.
I found.
Come watch us be stupid.
It's very fun. Also, you guys have to thank my roommate, who I set alarm, and then apparently my second alarm never like went through. You know how you have like the pre-wake up, and then the you have to like get online right now. Yeah, I was moving all day and was totally asleep. I was like waiting for the second alarm to go off. She's like, there's a laptop here. Right now.
I stayed up for 24 hours yesterday, and so I didn't get up until like 11 o'clock.
Oh yeah, I was up. I've been up since 7 p.m. yesterday because I was supposed to be
why?
moving and stress and anxiety and going road trips that messed up my medication that made me not be able to sleep.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, when you're in the dark and you forget your meds in the car because it falls out onto the seat when you put it specifically in the purse so that you didn't lose it. And then you're like searching everywhere. Where is my medication?
You know,
in the car seat.
For something that needs sleep to function, our bodies are just really bad at sleeping. And that annoys me.
My med is specifically to make me sleep because I have issues to sleep.
Yeah. All right. Great. So today we're talking about this.
I finished.
I'm so excited.
And by some miracle, all three of us have finished it. All three of us. It's amazing.
I'm literally
I think it is the first time.
I think there have been other books that we have finished, but like
not even the first did I finish on time.
I think we might have finished some of the Heroes of Olympus books. Some of those we might have all been done at the same time. What?
Did Ken finish any of them on time? I finished none of the Percy Jackson books on time.
All of
because I would just delay them. She finished one of the Heroes of Olympus on time.
I'm not good at this.
I think the only one that I didn't finish. No, wait, because we rescheduled the live show. I was like, I think the only one that I didn't finish was Mark of Athena, but that was because I had a family emergency. So.
And it's your favorite book, which is funny.
It is my favorite.
Not family emergency. Yeah.
So, but then we rescheduled. So, anyways. So, Kier.
Yes.
What did you think about this? This is
you guys like this better than the first one.
Having finished the first one, I really liked the first one. I don't know. I just like Rick Riordan's sense of humor, and I didn't feel like it was repetitive. Is it Percy Jackson? No, but like that's a really high standard to reach. But I loved it. I had so much fun reading this one.
Well, I feel like oh sorry, Ken, give your feelings.
Go ahead. I liked this one. I think that it was I enjoyed it better than the first one, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's weird because I realized going back because I wasn't like fully in love with it until the second book, which is what I read. Like I read it physically and it was wonderful. And like I forgot a lot of it because it's a lot shorter of a book. Like on my audiobooks, it's like 15-hour audiobook for Sword of Summer, but it's only a 10-hour audiobook for Hammer of Thor. So it's like 2/3 of the size, and yet it has like all of the emotional really heartbeats for it, and it's when I feel like you really start to get to know the characters a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely see that. I do see, like, having read Sword of Summer and Hammer of Thor, I feel like the thing that gets people probably about the Magnus Chase series is it doesn't have that same kind of, the narrative is different from Percy Jackson. This feels a little bit more like, hey, let's throw this in there and let's throw that in there, and we've got an end goal, but it's not as focused as the Percy Jackson series, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that it can't be created though, because pretty much each Percy Jackson book is a recreation of myths that even if we're not completely familiar with the myth, we're familiar of retellings, like not even direct retellings, but like they're narratives that are really popular to Western culture. And yet Norse mythology, it didn't completely survive, so we don't have the same knowledge. The archetypes of the stories aren't ones that are as well, you know, we have Thor, we have Loki, but they're so like bastardized from their myths that we barely recognize them, right?
Yeah. So like I just like you can tell, and I was thinking about that. I was reading that you can tell that like he was working with a different mythology for this versus like the Greek or versus even the Egyptian, because I mean Egyptian is a mess in and of itself because of how little actually survived in concrete, like this is how it is form, because it survived for so many years. There's so many different iterations of it. But I liked it. I like he always does characters so well. He hits it out of the park with his characters and his banter and like dialogue. Even if
tell me you didn't love Alex.
I like Alex. Alex is no Annabeth, but I do like Alex.
Yeah.
I think that he's trying to, like, granted, nothing can beat Percy and Annabeth. They are at the god level. But I think that Alex and Magnus, they have such a different type of relationship that, like, even though I want to compare it to Percy and Annabeth, like, I'm not gonna put that kind of burden on them because they're just so sweet.
I'm curious at what point he decided to add Alex into the scenario and make Alex the main love interest. Like, did he know that?
Ever was planning on being.
Say what?
I don't think Samira ever was planning on being loved.
That's my question. Like, I was like, because if you read, it's so funny because if you read a lot of it, like if this was the Percy Jackson series and Samira would be the Annabeth. Does that make sense?
Well, she is the Annabeth. That's the thing. But the thing is, Magnus isn't the Percy, and that's one of my favorite things. Especially in this one, it shows very evident that he is not a warrior. That he sucks at, and his passion is where his love is, and when his caring is not in where, like, he's almost more of like the Grover character than the other people that would more traditionally fit, you know what I mean? You would think of Arthur Blitzen as the Grover character, but in regards to the actual trio, he fits more of that.
Oh, interesting. I didn't think about that. So who would be the Percy, do you think, in this series?
I think that like Alex almost fits that more.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't know if there is exactly a Percy, but like,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because, you know, one of the things that makes, I think, Magnus stands out so much is that in so many ways that like he follows the opposite of where, and I think this will become even more evident as you finish the series, that like rather than him being this natural person who is really great, really humble, really loving, but like is amazing with a sword, amazing with these gifts, beyond anything, more powerful than anyone else. You have Magnus, who's introduced as this guy who is literally made fun of because he sucks, right? And everyone's like, you should not be a warrior. Not only that, you're also dead, and you kind of like, no one super loves you and thinks you're a little bit strange.
That's funny.
A bunch of outcasts versus a bunch of people that are at the top of their tier. which is kind of what Percy Jackson is.
Yeah, that's funny because when I read him, he reads like if the Percy Jackson series had started with Percy at 17 or 16 or whatever Magnus is, I feel like this is exactly how it would go because like Magnus has zero reference for anything. And like Percy at least starts out being like, okay, I don't want to get like turned into a pile of ash. And you know, we're at the end of wherever we are in Trials of Apollo, where he's like, no, like you all can go F yourselves. Oh, yeah. Like he's about to start taking out pantheons because that they can't cause any more apocalypses. Apocalypses? I don't know. What's the plural?
Well, you know what the funny thing about apocalypse is, right?
What?
It literally just means to reveal or to be seen because it's the same thing with like Revelation in the Bible where it means to reveal, but the original title of like Revelations was Apocalypse, which was to find something out about the world, but because it's tied to end times, it now means to destroy the world. That doesn't mean an HD break. It just means to be seen.
I mean, I feel like that's a very interesting because I spent a lot of time this last week, especially reading this book, thinking about the fact that like we talk about the apocalypse as though it would be the complete end of the world. And I think in most scenarios, it would change things drastically, but it wouldn't be the complete end of the world. Like, I would like to see a series where Ragnarok happens, and it's about what you do after Ragnarok. Does that make sense?
Based on where I am in the book, 5th season.
Oh, yeah, I have read that one. I
haven't finished it, but that is kind of the whole plot about the world keeps on ending, and they keep on remaking.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, literally, like, one of those mythologies that's talking about like a mythological series where it's like, oh, well, this has happened. Well, actually, Trail of Lightning is one of those where you still have the mythology, but the apocalypse has happened. That's really, it's very, very good. I like it very much.
You know, on my list forever.
But like, yeah, I want a book where Ragnarok happens and everyone's having to figure out what do we do now that the gods have killed everyone or killed themselves. So
did you not pick it up though because you were worried about it being sad?
What was I worried about being sad?
No, you tend to stay away from like hyper dreary books.
I would. I would not.
I don't mind sad books if there is a reason for the sadness at the end that is happy. Like, I just read a book called Let's Go Swimming on Doomsday, and that is a hard book to read, but the ending makes all of the suffering worth it because it is so wonderful and sweet and everyone is happy.
Oh, everyone's happy? Then I'll read that.
Like, I don't mind suffering while I read as long as there's a happy ending.
People can die in the middle as long as the people that I really like are still alive at the end.
Yep, exactly. So I had a question and now it is gone. Anyways, so far, who is everyone's favorite character?
Would it be wrong to say that I really like Otis?
You won, though.
I don't.
I am like not at all surprised by this. I asked who everyone's favorite character is, and Kinsey said hers is Otis.
Oh, Otis is great.
I freaking love him.
He is.
Otis. I'm
what?
undercover. I'm undercover. My name is Otis. Don't call me Otis. Call me Otis.
That was so, like, that whole beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so ridiculous, and I love it. And, like, I feel like you wouldn't have that level of ridiculousness if he was not a goat.
Oh, yeah.
I relate to him a lot as a
it's part of this actual story, though. Someone is going to have to die. I can do it. You're a goat. You can't be the bride.
Oh.
He's just
like, no, but imagine after 5,000 years of conditionally being killed by your master and then eaten in a serving. Might have something wrong with your psyche. Might have some trauma in there.
That's funny. I feel like that might also change your attitude towards. What?
I said if I have to pick a human character though, I like Sam.
Yeah, me
Sam's
too.
great.
Sam's my favorite. I have
I
so much
like
fun when she is on the page. And it probably is because she appeals to that part of me that loves Annabeth and likes characters like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I do love, and I think that we were talking about this last time when I said starting in this book. I didn't know it was as much because I knew it definitely was more in, because I read the last two very close in succession, but like it answers a lot of questions about how she incorporates religion and like faith.
Oh, I loved
for
that.
Amanda.
I love that she was like, it doesn't have to affect what I believe. I feel like people have that attitude with science. Like, how can science exist if God exists? And it's like the two don't have to be mutually exclusive, my friend.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that I will say that this book did a really good job at like explaining topics like that. Like I think that he did a pretty good job at like explaining Alex, like, and the non-binary, and then along with the religion. I think that it was all very like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, and then we have Parth and disability and like family relations in there. We have Magnus and like his relationships with his family and like how very complex they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. That really did kind of bug me that like he kept being like, well, Randolph is family. I'm like, honey, he tried to kill you.
Did that bother you?
If your family tries to kill you at that point, I feel like you don't need to worry about them.
I don't know. I think that it's a very like I know for my family is like a little messed up, and I don't know. Like we heard.
But have your parents tried to kill you? That's the question.
I think that like I kind of get both of the sides. Like I think Magnus feels more like of this like he almost wants a family so bad, like even if it's just like yeah, he has his like he has his fake family or his grown into family, but then
Found
like
family.
Thank you, that was the word I was looking for.
Got ya.
But I think that like he also just like really wants like his blood family to like actually be a part of his life. And I think that although he realizes that his uncle like hasn't done good, I think he still kind of like hopes for that like connection.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
Everything else of his life changing too, right? Like his
Yeah.
whole world being upended.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I'm not 100% convinced that Randolph's family is dead after this book. Don't tell me anything, Kier.
So your guess is that like Loki has them kissing?
That would be my guess. I feel like that's something that Loki would do if it was. I mean, Loki is predictable. I'm sorry, he is. He's gonna do what is gonna, and he's smart about it too. And so stuff like that happens. I'm not convinced that they're not dead, but I still think it could be a possibility.
There's always a possibility in fantasy that the people are alive.
Yes,
Especially
exactly.
in a world where you're alive after you're dead. You know what I mean?
True facts. True facts.
Like a lot of the main characters are dead. Well, I guess only.
Yeah. Only really Magnus and Alex at this point. So.
Yes. And the floor mates.
Yeah, the floor mates, but we don't really see it. We really don't see that much of his floor mates. I feel like they're at the beginning and they're at the end usually, but like that's it.
But they come along for the ride in the third book, which I really love.
Oh well, that's exciting. I like Mallory and Halfborn. They have such a cute relationship.
They do. It's great. And you're like, what would happen if a 1960s, 1970s like bomber from England and a ancient person got together?
Yes. They're disasters, and I love it. Oh man. Okay, so can we talk about the fact that I loved how they redid the whole like Thor pretending to be the bride getting the hammer back without actually having Thor pretend to be the bride. I really liked how he redid did that so that it was Alex and Sam that were doing it instead of like Thor and Loki. Like I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
I did like that.
That was
I thought that was a good little.
I thought that was clever because like normally you would think it would be like a child of Loki and a child of Thor that would do it, but no, it's two children of Loki that get to do it. And like I really appreciated that kind of like creativity, still telling the myth, but the creativity to it.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And I thought that like I really enjoy exploring their dynamic of what their relationship was as people who we would look at in the world and say that they wouldn't be friends, but they are sisters/siblings, depending on the time. And also the fact that one of them, to Loki, has been much more involved, and one of them, Loki, is their mother, and one
that was
and Loki
so
is their father.
That was such a cool detail for him to include. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Well, yeah, and it adds fluidity into like it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're like, and it adds to the reason why this becomes the forefront, because the idea that there is at least something that Alex can do to at least, I don't know, feel at least like they are in a different gender. I don't know, like, I don't know, that's not completely answered because I'm using they in regards to them. So I just switch back when we're just talking about them in general.
Right.
But like, it's hard to have that conversation when you're talking about a shapeshifter, because they're like, no, I don't actually physically shift in between, but then I do as well. Then, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the way Alex explained it made sense because I think like it really like it aligned with a lot of what I hear from I don't know a lot of I know non-binary and then trans people, so it made sense compared to like what I've seen in the trans community about like gender and how they approach that. So I appreciate like I understood that, and I thought he did a really good job of explaining that. And it made sense to me. I was like, oh, okay, like it's not a hard thing to understand.
And with the feeling that death would have a traffic, and also the idea of family, and like, I don't know, this book has a really good job of linking how every single one of the main characters, really other than Blitzen, have a relation to their stray families because of some kind of their identity, or their like Samira not being her identity, but because her caught between worlds, Alex caught between worlds, but also like caught between genders, and how that has caused issues in their family. You know, Magnus, how that took his family away. You know, Hearthstone, like so many interesting ways to tie the same story, or like a similar
Hearthstone's dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just he's awful. He is awful. He is the worst. Like, he is the worst character possibly that Rick Riordan has ever written.
Yeah, right. And it's because, like, again, it's mythologized, but it's a kind of abuse that a lot of people deal with, like their parents punishing them and or giving them impossible orders to do. Maybe not literally writing on a blackboard, but like that's, I think, a feeling that a lot of people can relate to if they've been in those situations.
Like it's really interesting how he uses mythology to deal with real world issues. I really appreciate like how he does that.
Yeah.
And I think he's gotten better at that since we've had ugly, fat, smelly Gabe in the Lightning.
Exactly. Well, it shows, and that's the thing, right? Like, Rick Riordan isn't perfect, but he comes from a place and he's willing to acknowledge and grow from his own experience.
Yeah, he's willing to accept criticism and be like, he's willing to be gracious about it. He doesn't react badly to it. He actually sits down and he sits with it and he thinks about it, or at least I assume he does. I'm not in his head. But like, I know you see a lot of authors that like that stuff comes up and they'll do the blanket apology or whatever, but they don't sit there and go, okay, I'm going to adjust it from here on out.
Right. They don't
actually follow up with adjusting it. So I appreciate the way he's handled that and the responsibility that he sees he has.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's a good way to look at it when we talk about like canceling authors and we talk about just like blanket, they did this one thing, we're never going to talk about them again, right?
Yeah.
There's obviously different, because especially when you look through the historical lens. Judging a 2005 book based on 2020 is just a hard thing. It's just a different world. But then when you look at Rick Riordan, you look at his inclusion of a lot of conversations, even this conversation in I still consider Magnus Chase middle grade.
Yeah.
Even though even though they are like 16, it reads to me very much as middle grade.
Oh yeah.
So in a middle grade novel set, it's 2017 that it came out, probably 2017.
Hold on, I have it. 2016 is when this one came out.
So 2016. So you have a nuanced, non-binary, gender non-conforming character in 2016 in a middle grade fantasy novel, right?
Yeah.
By an author that could have no diversity and would still, you know what I mean? Rick Riordan is almost at a place where, like, I feel like even if he wasn't dutifully, you know what I mean? When authors get so big that a lot of people ignore the crap about them.
Yeah.
Right?
Sarah J. Maas.
Right? Yeah, and I was thinking things where, like, you know, they consistently don't have representation, or they really terrible representation. But people don't really care because they're that popular, right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like Sarah J. Maas, I haven't read her most recent one, but like her earlier books are a lot worse in terms of diversity than her later books are. And I think a lot of it has to do with when, like, again, with the whole fat phobia of The Lightning Thief, I think it has to do with what was there and what was popular at the time. So I think a lot of it is stuff that, like, Rick Riordan may not really have thought about what he was doing. This is, you know, Harry Potter, fat people are evil, like that kind of thing. So I'm not saying that she has done, but I think she has at least learned, because I feel like the Throne of Glass series treats people of color one way, and the ACOTAR series, she at least made an effort to be better. Okay. So,
I have not had a lot of experience with Sarah J. Maas. I've seen a lot of analyzation of other people talking about Sarah J. Maas. So I read Throne of Glass right before I started BookTube. That's how I found BookTube. I was intrigued by the heck by the ending. But again, she started writing that at
2012, I think.
No, but she was like 22, and I think she'd had it. She wrote it when she was 15. So, like, I can know that even the novels that I wrote, my earlier writing has a lot of like internalized misogyny and just like terrible things. Because that is what I saw in books growing up, right? Like, when I was a teenager, like, I was like, this is such a toxic relationship, but I'd never been in a relationship, and all of the media I'd ever really seen had been really toxic relationships. So that's what I wrote, right?
I have stuff in my closet sitting that like needs to be burned, because it was me trying not to be racist and yet ended up very racist. I didn't know that was stuff that you didn't do, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's because when I wrote it, I was 15. That's like
well, yeah, and
if I were to write it now,
in the early 2000s, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
2000.
Sorry, I'm not doing that to point out your age. I'm just like if you look at representation.
No, I'm doing math.
Well, you're born
I graduated in
end of 1987, so like 2002, 2003.
Yeah. So it was. No, because I graduated in 2003. Because I graduated in 2006. I graduated in 2006. So, like, yeah, I grew in regards to like race and stuff. I grew with the idea that racism was bad, but not knowing how pervasive racism was and how it didn't look just one way.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. Like, I was given a very specific definition of what racism was. And it is so much more.
Yeah.
But
I didn't understand it a lot because Canada isn't as blatant with its racism. It has a lot of, you know, we don't mind this people group, or we're going to be kind to them, but behind them we're going to support bills and we're going to support things that that disadvantage them, even though we would never, you know, treat someone terrible in the actual real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you contribute to a lifestyle that teaches and that has an example different from how you actually, you know what I mean? There's not like as many like blatant like there still is, but it's less so, right?
Mhm.
More light in Canada. So like I grew up in like very multicultural places, and I didn't realize that a lot of people like in my life had racist beliefs because we were friends and I was exposed to and I hung out, and like, you know, the children that I hung out with were multicultural, so I just assumed, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then I realized that they didn't support the people who they were actually friends with because they never actually did the research into how.
Yeah. Well, I think it's when you're in, I think part of white culture is wanting to define racism when we have no experience of it. Like we're not the ones that should be the leading voices on defining what it is, and we want to be.
But we want to have everything.
So, anyways, going back, what are some of your favorite moments from this book, guys? I feel like mine is the Bifrost moment where Amir is trying to like wrap his head around this and losing his crap. Amir is so cute, and can I have him, please?
So
He's
cute.
so sweet. And he bought her flying lessons. He got her flying lessons. Like, what a man.
Right. Okay, and also just to have like when we talk about Magnus just being awesome, the man literally with his healing magic reshapes a man's mind to be able to be opened to the 9 worlds.
Yeah, I feel like he lent him some of that plasticity that we have when we're young and that fades as we grow and our neural pathways develop.
Exactly. But he just like reshaped him with the healing ability to not have a like mental break.
I know.
Or forget it, which is like ridiculously powerful. He didn't even realize he did it.
Yeah, I know.
That's just who he is, right? Like, this is a guy who helped me out, but I don't know that well, and I'm going to try to calm down.
I actually completely forgotten that, like, because I remember I started this, and I'm like, how does Magnus know Amir? And then I realized that it's because of Fadlan's falafel. I completely forgot that Amir was connected with Fadlan's falafel.
I did too. until Magnus like brought up the food, and I was like, oh, I get it.
See, I remember that very intimately because my family like grew up on like shawarma and stuff. Like,
I've never had it, so.
Yeah,
oh wow.
I was so like literally. So I visited my parents for the beginning of the pandemic, and we live like in Ottawa, but like a little bit like where it's rural, so it's a little bit worse for like things. So even though it's about 10 minutes from the shawarma place, my dad's standing outside the day before they're figuring out how to do delivery and open up, and he's like, "I really wish I could give you this. I really wish we could like deliver you shawarma," because they like start my parents' thing by the time that my parents make it in the door. And you know, I've been moved away for 5 years, and they still know enough to make me the right shawarma.
That's funny.
I grew up on it.
I've gotten to the point like at places where they will like they'll be like they'll be weirded out when I get something different than what I normally get, but I've never had anyone be like, "Oh, start Margaret's food."
Yeah, start your food. Like, there's another one. There's my like local family one where I talk to them and like I know all of their kids because they make their kids like work it after school.
My the local Chinese place, I've been there often enough that her children told me goodbye the other day as I left the store. They don't do that with most people. I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
That's one of the places that I've been like I've made a point of continuing to eat at since this whole thing has started.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I need to check in on them and make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So, anyways, Kinsey, what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite moment in this book?
Well, anything with Otis. But I freaking love him. But I
can tell you that he appears in the 3rd novel. I'm almost sure of it. Yeah. And remember, like, yeah, he's there. I don't know how much. I can't remember because it's all kind of blended in which scenes are in which book, but
I understand that completely.
But yeah. I'm like 98% sure that he's in it.
I did also like the part with Amir. I thought that was very. It just filled my heart with joy.
The only part about that part that bugged me is because my narrator pronounced Bifrost Bifrost.
Same.
We were probably listening to the same book. I was just like,
one audio book. So
I'm assuming
I was listening to it on
3 times speed because you do that because you're weird.
I listened to it on 2.5.
Pronunciations were probably slightly because I didn't understand.
I can't go past like 1. I might go up to 2 times speed if I'm in a hurry, but I like being able to get some of the experience of the acting that they're putting into that audio. And you lose that the more you speed it up. Like I tried speeding up. I'm watching a TV show on YouTube, and I tried speeding that up, and it doesn't work for TV shows. Like it works for YouTube videos. I can't. Yeah. Well, I think
for me,
part of me is like, okay, like maybe it's how the Old North, because there was another word that we pronounced with a I and he pronounced with an E, and I'm like, I'm assuming he's going with the Old Norse pronunciation, but like you're reading to an English audience, sir. No one has pronounced it that way for like 300 years, probably longer, because Vikings were for 1,000 years.
That's fair.
It's the same problem with when the narrator says Thalia instead of Talia, because guys, that's how we pronounce it now. It is Talia. Rick Riordan says this, but he pronounces it Thalia. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't say Thalia. I say a little bit of a harder H, but not a full H. Like I say Thalia.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because Rick
It's not
Riordan.
Thalia, but it's Thalia.
Thalia.
Rick Riordan pronounces it Talia with the hard T instead of the TH.
Well, I'm allowed to pronounce things different than the author.
Yeah. Rick.
And when my child is named Thalia, you have to call her Thalia.
Listen, if you name your child Thalia, I will call your child Thalia because you named your child. Rick Riordan named Talia Grace. So Rick Riordan is the one that I listen to on how to pronounce her name. But that's how you pronounce the name or one of the ways you pronounce the name. Anyways, and in Greek, in ancient Greek, yes, that would be a TH sound. That would be Thalia in ancient Greek. But like my friends, we're not in ancient Greece.
Well, I'm a phonetic dyslexia person, which had trouble reading, and these were one of the first books that I read. And all I could see was the TH and then the Alia, and that's how I read because I can't do phonetics. So I was like, Alia.
You get to do. I'm talking about a professional audiobook narrator, guys.
That's true.
I'm part of audiobooks.
No excuse.
Sorry. That there's different pronunciation of names in the thing. Although I can't. What is it? I can't get over the Percy Jackson audiobooks because I've reread them so many times that I'm so annoyed. Like, why the heck is it Apollo who's Southern?
Yeah.
No!
Like, I always got more of a surfer dude vibe from Apollo versus a Southern vibe.
Yeah, like either like a New York accent or a California accent. Definitely not a Southern accent.
No, like.
Although I often forget that Southern accents exist. Like when I think of Americans, I normally just assume that they have the same accent as I do. Like, because I have an accent. When
I think of Americans, I assume that they have the same accent as I do too. So.
You don't have a Southern accent, even though you live in Florida.
What?
You don't. I don't hear a Southern accent from you, even though you live in Florida.
That's
because either like deep Florida, I feel like, or like Georgia and Alabama.
Okay, so here's how Florida works. It is the most northern of the southern states. So the further south in Florida you get, the less southern it gets. However, you have never heard me around my relatives, or when I'm tired. Because when I am tired, my eyes start stretching out. And I've been talking like I say smile, like smile. And then I start saying mama.
Mom. Well, it's interesting though too. I think that often people you pick up accents when you listen to people. So I've noticed like there are people that have been YouTubers for quite a while and their accents have become less. Like for instance, like I don't know, like 6 months ago or something, Murphy Napier did she was talking about her first video and she was doing an interchange, and she has like such a strong Southern accent in her first video, and I'm like, girl, and like she doesn't have one at all. What? Because I think that sometimes, like, I pick up accents when I talk to people. Like, I had a Scottish dean, and it was the worst thing ever because I automatically, and I feel terrible, especially when it's a non-white accent, because I don't think about it and I automatically copy it. And I'm like, I do not mean like that. That was not meant as offensive. And like I did it when we had Southern friends. I used to compete in the States for something, and I was hanging out with a girl from Alabama a bunch, and then I was saying something, and someone turned around and they're like, "Is Tammy in the car?" And I was like, "Nope, I was just copying her voice."
I am the same. When someone has a distinctly different accent than I have to work to not actually copy them because I'm a terrible person.
It might be true that when you talk to us, you're more likely to have.
Yeah. Well, I am. So, because I was in theater, I was very specific about trying to be clear and enunciate.
Yeah.
And so I had people that would come through Chick-fil-A and they would ask if I had learned English as a second language because I was so specific about it. I'm a lot less uptight about English now.
So enjoying Kenzie in the background.
They actually, I'm not even kidding. They're like, you are so like crisp, and it was funny. I was like, no, I was born, but I am on headset and I have to speak clearly so that you can understand me over the headset. So yes, I talk this way, not this way, but like,
yeah.
So there is a standard American accent, and that's what I tried to learn or what they tried to get you to learn in theater school. So
yeah.
Kinsey, are your eyebrows okay?
Yeah, I got a headache, bro.
I'm sorry.
It's because I'm dehydrated.
All right.
What else? Big ass water.
Yeah. What else do you want to talk about?
A bottle of wine.
What?
I just saw the top of it. We're just chugging a bottle of wine.
You know, I have gotten into day drinking. I will.
You can't tell how far you walk down that path, but I approve. As long as
Anyways, anything else about the book that we want to talk about, guys?
Wait, which one of you said you wanted to talk about Hearth at some point? Because we have not yet done that.
We have. It wasn't me.
Wait, no, you didn't. Okay, never mind.
I just said that I wanted to stab his father.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we all agree that we want to stab his father because I'm assuming his father is going to turn into a dragon, and they're going to have to deal with the dragon when they go back to get Hearth's runestone. I assume like that might be what happens. That was a nice heavy foreshadowing that happened there.
Exactly.
So, anyways, I'm interested to see what happens there. What else did we have?
I will say that this book made me appreciate the series more.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, the first book, even like I finished it finally. And I will say that like I was kind of like I'm not really feeling it, but like I'll push through the second one. And then this, like, I'm actually excited to read the last book now.
Well, duh, because the last word of this book is Percy.
You know,
I wouldn't be excited.
Before that chapter, I was excited. When Percy was on the word, just even the name was on my page, my heart did a little flutter. Okay, like,
well, the first 2 or 3 chapters we spend with Percy, so
fantastic! I can't wait to see him
talking back and forth. And get some great Perciveth scenes. I
feel like Annabeth is going to regret at some point introducing these two because of the hijinks they are going to get into. Their absolute irreverence for the various pantheons is going to lead to something bad. And by bad, I mean wonderful and delightful and absolutely entertaining.
Can I?
Yes. I really hope that he writes some, like, I don't know. Some, like
he did.
I never read them, but, like, he read offshoots with, like, Carter and, like.
Yeah.
But we really need Magnus and
I want
Percy.
that.
We do.
And it makes
We
sense,
do.
more sense,
Even if
because we have
no one getting some like falafel. Also, wait, did you guys wait. Did you guys read that little snippet that Rick posted on his Twitter of the
What
heroes?
snippet?
Bitch!
Nope.
What
Oh,
snippet? Kinsey,
I'm
send
gonna
it to me. Send
right
it to
now.
me.
He like
Tell me. I don't have my computer set up, so
That's fine. I'm not going to read it until like tomorrow, anyways. So
he did like a whole thing where I'll just read you the tweet. He said, a little present for Heroes of Olympus fans to maybe lift your spirits in stressful times. Here's an outtake I wrote of the 7 back in 2014, and it's literally them eating nachos together. And it is the best thing on this planet. I also cried a little, but it's fine.
okay, I remember seeing that tweet. It's probably bookmarked somewhere, but I was in the middle of doing things.
I sent it to you again. Don't worry.
thank you. I saw that.
Fantastic. You didn't send it to me the first time. This is the first time you have sent it to me. Don't say again.
Okay, you know what?
What kind of friend are you, Ken? I thought we had a solid friendship. You're not sending this to me.
Kinsey just like stops talking to us.
I'm sorry. Okay, I've stopped talking to everyone, so.
I mean, you weren't talking to us before that.
The fact that I loved what when you DM'd me and said, "Hey, haven't heard from you for a while. Are you okay?" I was like, "Shit, that's when I know I've hit deep." Like, I was like, "Damn, I need to get out again." Like, things are happening.
He said the same thing to me, and I was like, I have been avoiding too many messages. This is too stressful.
The reason I DM'd you is because I DM'd Kier, and I was like, okay, if I'm checking on Kier, I gotta check on Kinsey too. But like, I'd seen you, so I knew a little bit more like you were okay on Twitter, but I hadn't seen Kier on Twitter in forever. I was like, I need to check on Kier and make sure she is okay.
Yeah.
I just went into the recesses of nothingness.
It's all right. The world is falling apart. Percy is probably trying to save the world as we speak.
Yeah.
You better be.
Well,
I
I
hope
think
so.
that would probably be a better thing in here because I feel like water would be worse, not better.
Okay, you know what? Actually, what we need is Magnus Chase, the little healer boy. Come on.
Yeah.
Where's
Or
your
maybe he can like imbue Percy's water with healing.
I'm
And
just
then they're
saying.
healing Percy can
sounds
control
like-
all the water around the world, and like Magnus is gonna make it magical and clean. Like the opposite of what cholera, when you drink the water, you're healed, not you get sick.
It sounds like some minor Greek deities are having a little bit of playtime, and someone needs to reel them in. Who better to do that than Percy and Annabeth?
And maybe Will.
fiction that we need.
So who is that responsible?
I don't-
What
I
is
don't-
backstory?
You know,
I don't know. I don't know which Greek deity would be responsible for disease and pandemic. I know that Apollo is supposed to. Maybe Apollo has gotten captured or something.
Well,
Well,
maybe
there's
he was turned into a demigod and stripped of all his powers.
This is Zeus's fault. Of course, it's Zeus's fault. Everything is Zeus's
it
fault.
all comes back. It's all making sense now.
The pandemic
Rick Riordan
is Zeus's
is a
fault.
prophet.
Donald Trump is Zeus's fault.
He might just be Zeus, being too arrogant.
I feel like that's actually even an insult for Zeus.
I know, but like I feel like Zeus in his worst representation could it be considered that.
Yeah, I feel like Zeus.
Like I
at least
still
is, like,
think you have a little bit more of like management
Awareness?
over what he says. Well,
Yeah.
the man rapes a lot of women and then turns them into cows. Like he doesn't have the awareness.
Yeah. Anyways, I feel like Zeus at least would try to be he tries to be a responsible king of Olympus at least. Like he's a terrible husband and father, but like he tries not to let the universe dissolve into chaos.
Yeah, but he gets angry a lot.
We all have a little anger issues, okay? Especially in these times, ma'am.
Anyways, so I just feel like as bad as Zeus is, he's not that bad.
Okay.
I mean, the real
I
MVP
would agree that the Zeus of Percy Jackson isn't that bad. I think that I would disagree maybe with the Zeus of mythology.
Well,
again,
if we're
morality of that age versus morality of this age.
If we're looking at all of the mythology characters, they're all pieces of shit. Except some of the ladies.
What?
I said except some of the ladies. The ladies don't necessarily deserve to be shit.
Hestia.
But Hestia is the only one that's not problematic.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like even my Faye's, Artemis, and Athena are like a disaster.
Exactly.
So
yeah, she has some
they got
punishment.
They got too much ego.
I mean, I would too if I was a beautiful goddess, but like
they're women as written by men. That's what they are. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Anyways, we are doing a terrible job about talking about the Hammer of Thor. I am very disturbed that Thor farts all the time.
I know. I was
like this makes sense, but the farting, why the farting? Why does he have to fart all the time? That just sounds uncomfortable for everyone involved.
Maybe he's lactose intolerant and he really likes cheese.
He's a god.
Gods can be lactose intolerant too.
I'm pretty sure there is, in fact, in the Rick Riordan mythology, either a hero or a god who is lactose intolerant. What, Kier?
I said he eats goat, and I probably drinks the goat milk too.
That's why he farts all the time.
Also, wait, are they all boys?
How would he drink goat milk? They're both male.
Yeah, I just realized that.
You know,
maybe they're magical.
Maybe Otis likes to just do a little switcheroo every once in a while. He's like, I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna come back with some boobs. Okay.
I don't think that women that don't have
boobs would come back with. That's not what you call it, but okay.
Okay, you know what? I don't know goat anatomy.
I actually feel like guessing no boobs is a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, it would be an udder.
Sorry.
Goats have udders, as do sheep
or
and cows.
As I believe they're called teats.
Yes, well that's the nipple part of the udder.
That's it. That's just.
But then a lot of animals, even males, have them.
Yeah.
Which is so weird.
Guys, don't know, man. Stop attacking me.
Sorry. You know I love you.
Oh, I remember what I was going to ask. Okay, so how do you guys feel about the fact? I mean, I know he's a major Norse demigod or Norse god, so people know who he is, but like he's not the major Norse god. What do you think? Like, how do you think that? Like, it was an interesting choice to have Magnus be the son of Frey, and not like the son of Thor or the son of Odin. I'm highly intrigued by it.
I think that's purpose. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I think that is purposeful in the kind of rejection of, kind of like in many ways, Magnus I think is purposely, in character at least, the opposite of, like Percy. You know, like hating blue, not being a sword person, not being magic, being like healing rather than weaponry. And I think having a really, you know, not known god as his father is kind of part of that too.
Well, I would say Frey is he's one of the major ones because he's one of the Aesir. He's just not like considered one of the big ones.
Right.
Yes,
if
but
that makes
how
sense.
many people know Frey when they're listing out gods of Norse gods?
More people probably his sister Freya, honestly.
Yeah, I knew Freya, and I was like, I believe that I knew that Freya had a brother, but I have nothing about him.
Yeah,
that was all I knew.
I also think that it gives like. If you're looking at like the characterization of Magnus's mom, like clearly she like that had to do with like his dad. But I think that at the same time, like it fits better. And I also think that it gives Magnus the ability to have a more positive relationship than like Percy does with Poseidon. Percy just, you know, he's like, yeah, cool. My dad's this guy. I'll do things for him because he's fuck him. It's kind of like, oh, like, do you like, and like, even like when he first meets up with him, like the little hug, my heart melted. But I think that, that kind of just even more like enhances the difference.
I think it also has to do with Percy and Magnus having different experiences with father figures. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because just they're different characters, and Magnus kind of has, I think he has, because he's older, he has a perspective that necessarily Percy didn't have when he first met his dad. And so that sets the tone of their relationship going forward through this sort of summer. Whereas, like in the Percy Jackson series, like he knew his dad existed, and his dad, like he was told his dad just abandoned them, and his mom, like Magnus's mom, seems to have kind of taken a little bit of a different tack. So I think like it has to do with like how they were raised, how they saw authority figures, that kind of thing.
Well, and also Magnus is older than Percy is even in the end of Percy Jackson, right?
Yes.
Like he's already 16. Percy turned 16 on like the last day of the 5th book.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, and also Magnus is dead, so he kind of, I guess, has a little bit different perspective on life. I think the fact that Magnus has already lost his mom,
a normal dude, he would have probably had a different reaction.
Yeah, and Magnus had lost his mom, and Percy hasn't. So, like, I think,
and I appreciate that by having a lesser god or lesser Iser, or not lesser, but a lesser known Iser, then we have actually ability to get to know part of the mythology. Like if it was the son of Thor, like I don't feel like I would be learning as much.
I also probably wouldn't care as much.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be able to make fun of Thor.
Yeah.
As much.
Yeah. I agree.
So.
Like I like Marvel Thor, but mythology Thor is kind of
dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, even though I have to grieve my Marvel Thor when I read this series, I still like understand it. Like, you know, he's
they're just different takes on the same archetype. So
yeah.
I did like the little, like, I guess a cameo, but not really. Of like, I can't even remember what character he was saying, but it was like, yeah, like Thor looks like this, but whoever looks like the movie Thor or the Marvel Thor. And I was like, look at you, Rick. Acknowledge.
I remember that line, but I can't remember who it's about.
I know.
I feel like there were maybe too many cultural references, honestly, in this book. I felt like a lot of them were cop-outs. I was like, this would have been better if you would, like, there were a few that I was like, okay, that makes sense. But, like, I just feel like he's going overboard on them. Like, he had a good balance with Leo Valdez, but in this book, I was like, you're depending on these too much, and a lot of these are going to be outdated in just a few years.
I kind of agree, but I think that at the same time, like, because it's been, like, it's for the kids these days.
Yeah.
It's working in a middle school. I can understand why, like, he would throw these in, because just the amount of TikTok dances I see daily. It's like, I think that you couldn't do this in like Percy Jackson, like that time era. But I think that you agree.
I remember just not knowing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like,
and
I
do think,
like, especially Thalia and Percy, like, would talk about, like, artists and stuff, and a lot of them I just wouldn't know.
Yeah, that's true. I do think that, like, sometimes it does feel like a cop-out, but I think at the same time it helps the kid readers.
There's a difference between characters talking about something and then him actually using cultural references to describe things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I agree with that. And it is hard, especially... Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. There were several instances where he would say likes or something like such and such, or make a comparison to something that was a cultural, and it wasn't just like making a comparison to Harry Potter or the Hunger Games. It was like something that was very niche and like something that you're like, this probably is not going to be something that kids 10 years from now will know or understand, and I don't mind like having to look it up, but it just was one of those things where it was like, I feel like this would have been better if you had not done it this way.
Well, even saying that he looks like Kurt Cobain, which, like, I know who Kurt Cobain is, but does a 12-year-old know who Kurt Cobain is?
Right.
You know, Kurt Cobain died over 10, 15 years before they were even born.
Yep.
Right? And, like, but the thing is also, it's written for such a specific age time. Like, even now that this book was written 4 years ago, I get the references because I'm 22. But if I was 12, even, like, referencing Selena Gomez songs from, 2015?
Yeah.
That song that came out when you were 7. If you're 10, that song you came out when you were 5, right?
Yeah.
So that's the issue there, right?
Yeah. So, anyways, I just it's funny because I am pro cultural references, pop culture references. I am pro that, but I think that you have to be careful about them, and you can't have your narrative or your description depend on them, if that makes sense.
I agree.
Like, I would prefer it to be like a lighter dose of it, and I do agree with that. I don't mind it. Like, I just sometimes like roll my eyes a little bit, but
I will say that the idea of like a demigod Twitter, just like all the demigods on Twitter just bitching about everything, sounds like heaven to me. Also, where can
I'm just imagining, like, your gods do this too?
Yes!
I think that there would definitely be... Go ahead, finish, Kier.
So, especially with the fact that, like, he has, like, I don't know if we want to use the word empire because that seems like the wrong thing, but, like, with the Riordan verse of, like, Rick Riordan Presents, like,
right.
He hasn't shown that he's going to publish anything more in his own worlds right now. Maybe he's taking a breather. The man deserves a breather, right? But, like, if he just focuses on a Twitter for them.
Exactly.
All of them. It would be great because then people will see funny things.
Can you just imagine, like, Percy and Leo, like, on Snapchat in the middle of a quest? Like,
oh, yeah.
Sounds fucking hilarious.
I feel like anytime things started to go wrong in the world, somebody would be like, hey, such and such happened. Whose parents are screwing things up this time?
All the blame
for you. Well, and that was even referenced in this one where I'm not up to date on Apollo. That's our next read, but
yes,
we're referencing, and I wasn't sure completely because that was more of a Heroes of Olympus theme that the gods are kind of gone silent, right?
Right.
And it's even mentioned that that's kind of causing issues between even in Magnus's own world, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, since the Kane Chronicles, they've been dealing with simultaneous apocalypses. Like, there's an apocalypse happening with the Egyptian world and the Greek world, and then the Greek world, and then the Norwegian, the Asgardian world, and now it's just the Greek world. But, like, multiple apocalypses happening at the same time.
But is it kind of like the first one, where you have Percy in New York, but you have Jason on Mount Orthus?
Yeah.
Right? Like, are these happening at the same time? Where, like, and it's even interesting because, like, obviously Greek and Roman are the most similar and counterparts, but, like, you can draw a line that, like,
right.
The old are, Norse gods are related to Greek gods and stuff like that.
Yeah. I do think it is kind of cool. Like, I think it's just one of Rick's ways of saying, like, things happen simultaneously and you're not alone. Like, even if you've got a different backstory, crazy shit's happening in New York too. Like, guess what?
Yeah.
I love it when they reference past events in the Percy Jackson books, talking about, like, oh yeah, this happened. It makes me so happy. I was like, I remember reading when that was happening.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yes.
Final thought.
I liked it. I thought it was good. I'm very happy with, like, Rick Riordan never disappoints me.
Yeah. Good.
Except for Kane Chronicles.
I mean, not even the Kane Chronicles. I still thoroughly enjoy the Kane Chronicles. Those are still 4 stars for me. They're not 5 stars like Percy Jackson is, but that's less to do with the story and more to do with the characters and the fact that I don't feel as connected to them as I do in any of his other series. It's really weird.
Yeah. Well, I
just
think
the
a
way
lot
he
of that
writes
is
is
third
different.
person. Like he does so much better in
Mm-hmm. No, Kane Chronicles is first person. The third person is Heroes of Olympus.
Sorry, it's yes, but sorry, it's first person, but it's narrated out loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It brings out, like, it's not someone's thoughts, it's someone recording things, which always makes it seem weird and kind of artificial to me.
You have to cover it carefully, and I don't think, like, also, I think it works for middle grade. I don't think it would work as, like, a YA series if he was to do the same exact type of thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting to see, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's interesting to see this one, and, like, how so clearly, but I would say the mastery of this story is not, like, the plot is good, but is the characters. And to see that, like, you know, he did Percy Jackson really, really well, but then he what is the word? Not squandered, but stumbled a little bit in characters and Kane Chronicles. And then this is his first really series outside of the world, new characters, really doing a really great job of correcting what he messed up in one, which I appreciate, as we brought up earlier. You know, he's really good at coming back on things that he's failed earlier or not done as well earlier in his career.
Yeah. So anyways, we have one more book in this series, The Ship of the Dead, which grosses me out because it's a ship made of toenails. Why? Only a dude would think of that.
Yeah.
And by dude, I mean the Vikings. Viking dudes.
Well, it's supposed to be very gross. Thankfully, like, it's not our ship, so it's not, like, the main focus. But yeah.
Thank God.
We'll spend time on it.
It's so gross.
No, thank you.
And we get an unleashed Loki.
I know. Well,
I don't keep my mouth straight. I wanna hear. What do you want to see as a finale?
I think that I just, at this point, I don't know.
I just
like,
I mean, what I want is for Magnus not to be dead anymore and his mom not to be dead anymore and everyone to be happy, but I don't think that's what I'm going to get.
Yeah. I will. Yeah. I think
I don't really have.
I honestly, like, at this point, like, I haven't had, like, in these past couple series in these past two series that we've read, I haven't had, like, that nice, like, deep connection with Rick's characters. And so I'm hoping for the third book, that by the third book, I get that character, Otis.
Yeah.
And really, like, it becomes, like, not Percy, not Annabeth, but, like, you know, like, I just want to be as attached to his other books that I am, like, as much as I am the Percy and Heroes of Olympus series.
I would like to see us avoid Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Unless we're going to go what happens after Ragnarok. But, like, I don't know Norse mythology as well as I know Greek, so it's very hard for me to guess at, like, what's going to happen in the next book. Obviously, Hearth's dad is going to turn into a dragon. It has to happen. We have to take Loki and put him back where he belongs. And Thor's probably going to fart some.
Thor sometimes reminds me of my brother.
It's not wrong. Although, okay, one thing character that is completely underappreciated in culture and everything like that, his wife.
Sif? I love Sif.
And she's cool, and yet she's totally pouring acid in her husband's eyes. Even though she is also very traumatized.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's not Sif, is it? I always forget her name.
It's kind of Sigund, I think. Is his wife?
S, though, right?
Yeah, it starts with an S.
Yeah.
I don't remember. She's not important. I like Sif better.
But she pours acid in her husband's eyes to help them, even though, like, she hasn't spoken. Anyways, I like her.
Yeah. I did appreciate that.
All right.
All right.
I think that's all we got for now.
Okay.
Put the Play-Doh away.
Good for you, Kenzie.
Thank you.
Day drinking and Play-Doh. Your life is complete.
Yeah. No, welcome to my quarantine. I am. Woo. I need this
The
feel.
world is wonderful.
Everyone get better.
Yeah.
But also stay in your homes, people.
So that you can get better.
Yes, please.
And the world can get better.
Yeah, please stay in your homes.
Ugh.
We need to stop the spread. Anyways,
On that depressing note,
we'll see you next month for the Ship of the Dead.
yeah, peace out.
Which is a completely uplifting thing that shall take you out. So, you know. Let's talk about the end of the world.
Right.
Yeah, the end of the world. I mean, it's always the end of the world in these books. So,
How fitting.
but at least it's not a pandemic.
That's what you
All right.
Wait, is there a pandemic in the next book?
No.
I'll feel bad if there is.
Don't read the Illuminate Chronicles right now, though.
Oh, I could totally read the Illuminate Chronicles because it's a zombie book and zombie. Actually, I feel like my opinions on how zombie viruses would actually go down has changed considering how we have responded to this virus.
I said lunar, like cinder.
Oh, I'd read that too. I already
but
know
that
what
is
happened.
literally about a disease. Have you not read it? You read it. Disease.
I read it, yeah.
Ravaging the world.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.